Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our May 4th, 2021 Madison County Fiscal Court Work Session. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Madison County Fiscal Court will be video conferencing the Fiscal Court meeting live on the Madison County, Kentucky Facebook page and local Spectrum TV channel 377 in compliance with the Office of the Attorney General's Opinion 20-05. It's good to see everybody this morning. At this time, Clerk Barger, if you will, call the roll.
Master Reynolds.
Present.
Master Barger.
Here.
Master Tudor.
Here.
Master Botkin.
Present.
Judge Taylor.
Here. At this time, I'm going to invite everybody to bow your heads and let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this wonderful day. Lord, thank you for all the many blessings you give us each and every day. Lord, thank you for our elected officials. Thank you for the work that each one of us put into this county to make it better. Lord, just lead, guide, and direct us today as we're going through our budget, preparing for our next fiscal year. Lord, just give us the wisdom that we need to make good decisions to benefit the citizens of Madison County. Lord, lead, guide, and direct us as we leave this meeting. Lord, let us be a positive influence and shine your light wherever we go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I'll invite Master Botkin to lead us in the pledge.
All right, can we stand, please? I pledge allegiance to
Flag of the United States
States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Thanks, Tom. On today's agenda is our budget work session. It's our annual budget work session where we prepare for our next fiscal year's budget. And so we'll be going through each fund, line item by line item. Magistrates, each one of you all have a copy of our budget. And we also, you should have sort of the last, I think it's 5 years, just so we can see trends and see how we've been running from previous budgets. At this time, I want to turn it over to our Madison County Treasurer, Glenna Smith, and she'll lead us through all of our budgets today. Good morning, Glenna.
Good morning. Thank you. Magistrates, I just want to let you know we've got lots of pages to go through, so I'm going to run through these. But at any time, just speak up and say, I'd like to talk about this one or have a question about this one. Just stop me at any time and we'll talk about any particular line item you'd like to. So first of all, we're going to start off with the general fund.
Glenna, real quick before you get started, if you don't mind, just make an announcement that we have this budget on file in the office if anybody would like it.
The draft we normally don't give out to the public.
Oh, we don't give it out until we voted on it. I got you. Okay.
When we get ready to have first reading, that will be our first public record. This is just a working copy for the magistrate.
Okay, that's my comment on here is that after the first reading, it will be available.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should have first reading on the second court in May. So when we have that first reading, it will be available to the public. And then we'll have the second reading in June.
Okay. And then we always put it on our website as well. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. We're going to start out with the general fund revenues. Page 1 of 10 starts out with real property taxes. We left it the same at 3.6 million. Tangible personal property taxes, the same at 275. Motor vehicle property tax, we raised up from 575 to 600,000. Delinquent property tax stayed the same. Fire protection stayed the same at 100. Bank franchises stayed the same at 245,000. Franchise corporation tax stayed the same at 200,000. Occupational tax stayed the same at 3,750,000. Deed transfer tax, we raised up from 375 to 400,000. Insurance premium tax. This is the first year we've started collecting insurance premium tax, and we are on target to meet our 1.8 this year. So we did set it at 2,250,000. And we really won't have a definite what we're going to bring in a year till we get a year under our belt, which will be into the next fiscal year.
And Glenna, I think it's important too that the 1.8 was based off of 3 quarters, correct, yes, in this budget?
Yes, we're only collecting 3 quarters in the 2021 budget.
Right. Yeah.
Until the fall, we won't have a full year in and really be able to know exactly what we're going to bring in. But our best estimate is $2,250,000, which I think is conservative. Excess fees for the clerk, we actually went up from $525,000 to $600,000. Excess fees from the sheriff, we kept at $290,000, and this is the checks that we get quarterly from the state of the 25% fees that comes back to us. The next one is abandoned property registrations. We left the same at $1,500. Board of Adjustments planning fees, we left the actually took from $7,000 to $7,500. Plats, we raised from $18,000 to $21,000. HVAC mechanical permits, we kept at $45,000. Building permits, we raised from $120,000 to $135,000. Electrical inspections, we raised from $90,000 to $100,000. Planning fire gates, we kept at $250. Telecommunications tax stays the same at $72,000. Solid waste hauling permits went from $1,500 to $3,000. Federal reimbursement, and this is the community liaison position. The reimbursement from that stays at $50,000. Federal grants we have at $15,000, and that's usually a JAG grant that we get. State reimbursements $0. State grants we took from $230,000 to $250,000. Homeland Security grants we kept at $100,000. Election expense reimbursement went from $18,000 down to $9,000 because we're only going to have one election in the next fiscal year. The Board of Assessment and Appeals stayed at $500. The legal process tax stayed at $500. AOC space rental stayed the same at $752,354. The firefighters incentive stayed the same at $145,163. The DES federal reimbursement is where we get reimbursed for our EMA director, stayed at $30,000. Refunds and contingency, we raised from $10,000 to $40,000. We should be getting back a dividend from CAECO for approximately $27,000 in the fall. So we raised that up. The animal control interlocal agreement we took out. The fiscal court filing fees stayed at $140,000. And then go to page 4, the golf course receipts, we raised from $350,000 to $400,000. Dog adoption stayed at $20,000. Cat adoption stayed at $3,500. Animal turn-in fee stayed at $500. Animal claiming fee stayed at $2,000. Euthanasia fee stayed at $1,000. Dogs tag stayed at $2,000. Animal microchip fee stayed at $200. Donations we actually raised up from $2,000 to $3,000. We've seen an increase in donations. Sales tax stayed at $1,800. Merchandise stayed at $200. KCGC contractual services went from $25,000 to $30,000. Madison County E911 IT service raised from $27,618 to $37,185. Madison County EMS IT stayed at $10,500. Madison County Utilities IT stayed at $6,300. Madison County Clerk IT raised from $22,000 to $29,578. Madison County PVA IT service stayed at $7,350. Madison County Sheriff IT raised from $18,030 to $30,283.
Is Chris with us, Glenna?
Yes.
On the IT service on the sheriff, why is there such an increase on that?
I'll let Chris answer that.
Hey, Tom, on most of those agreements, we've went and wrapped up their license fees and that. They used to pay them themselves, but they used to lapse on us because we weren't aware of it. So we went ahead and just included all their license fees in their contracts, so the county pays for it and then they reimburse us.
All right, thank you.
So the ones you see raised are not actually a service fee raise. We just included their licenses.
Okay,
So there was no across the board raises for service.
all right.
Okay, and on page 6, the detention center IT service, the same way, raised from $11,868 to $18,221. The Madison County IT service went from $8,710 to $14,420. Southern Madison Water IT stayed at $7,000. Madison County E911 GIS service stayed at $5,000. Perks for Water GIS $500. Public Request GIS stayed at $300. City of Berea Pictometry stayed at $11,126. PVA Pictometry stayed at $8,322. City of Richmond Pictometry stayed at $9,657. Berea College Pictometry stayed at $3,327. EKU Pictometry stayed at $3,861. Madison County Clerk Telephone Service, this is where we bill out for telephone service. Clerk stayed the same at $6,480. County Attorney, same $3,600. Child Support, same $3,600. Driver's license we will no longer have on our telephone service. Sheriff telephone stayed at $5,400. Detention center telephone and internet, it raised from $4,220 to $5,178 because it is including internet now. Madison County 911 cell phone stayed at $828. Madison County utilities telephone stayed at $3,150. And then you go down to dead animal removal fees stayed at $1,500. Vending machine commission stayed at $500. Sales and surplus, anything we sell on Gov Deals, anything we sell in surplus, we kept that at $25,000. Kentucky Real Estate Board rent stayed at $28,801. Child support rent stayed at $43,164. Battlefield Farm rent stayed at $14,100. Commonwealth Attorney rent stayed at $32,088. We did lose the family court basement rent this past year. CASA rent, we will no longer have CASA in the new year.
Glenna, I got a question on the Chase Bank. We're not renting any units out over there now.
No, not right now.
All right.
John, just FYI on that, that's part of our courthouse renovation.
Okay, we can't have anybody in there while we're renovating on it.
No, I mean, it's actually going to be where the temporary space for circuit court will be held. So they'll be doing a small renovation over there. They'll be moving into it while we're doing the courthouse renovation.
Second floor, you think?
First floor.
Talking about second.
First and second. First and second. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
Okay, now for the recycling receipts, we raised recycling receipts up from $4,000 to $8,000. Insurance reimbursement stayed the same at $50,000. Sheriff vehicle insurance reimbursement, this is where the sheriff pays us back for their insurance policy. It stayed at $25,000. Actually, this is where when we get claims in from the insurance company, we separate it out for the sheriff's vehicle. Reimbursement from outside entities stayed the same at $200,000. Sheriff law enforcement liability insurance.
Hey, Glenna, on the reimbursement from the outside entities, will you just explain what that is so everybody will know?
Yes, it's where mostly CSEP will reimburse us for all their insurances, the workers' comp, the property insurance, the unemployment insurance, and also 911 reimburses us for that. 911 also reimburses us $25,000 for administration of the 911, doing all their checks, doing all their payroll, that sort of thing. All of those, anything that comes from an outside entity would be deposited into that line item. The sheriff law enforcement liability insurance, this is where they reimburse us for a part of the law enforcement liability that we're charged on our insurance policy for $49,800. The sheriff auto insurance reimbursement, this is where they pay us back for having the sheriff vehicles on our auto insurance policy. It's at $60,117. Donations stayed the same at $7,500. Cell tower rent stayed the same at $36,000. Interest we brought down when we had to take our investments and put them in a place where they could be gotten to if we needed to. It brought down our interest that we're earning, but we brought it down to $20,000. Hopefully we can get those back into some more productive interest-bearing investments. Surplus from prior year, we kept at 5 million. And basically that is what is in your bank accounts as of June 30th. Whatever you bring over from the last fiscal year that is in cash. That's what comes over as surplus from prior year.
And that doesn't include the, what we
Actually,
have in Edward Jones, correct?
that actually does include, I checked on it this morning, that does include the Edward Jones. So that's including our investments.
All right.
Adjustment to prior year carryovers, just if you have any voided checks. Bond anticipation note, last year we had 6 million in there for the construction on the courthouse. We only used 437,000 of it. So that leaves a remainder of 5,500,000 for that construction loan. Plus we're doing the bond on the energy project for 7 million. So that equals the 12,500,000. And you'll see I'll have expenditure line items that match up with that when we get to the appropriations. Transfers to other funds. These are transfers to the road fund and the jail fund. Last year it was $3,905,435. This year it's $4,232,632. It's an increase of $327,197. As of now, what changes we've made in the budget. Does anybody have any questions about the revenue portions of the general fund?
Lana, real quick, the money that we reimburse you guys, is that in that miscellaneous? The
Yes.
200,000 or something that we reimburse for the employee?
I apologize. I couldn't think of everything that we put into that pot, but yes, that would be in the outside entities, that 200,000.
Okay,
So
no problem. Thank you.
Yes. All right, if we're ready to start on the appropriations of the general fund, we start out with the county judge salary, which is set by the state each year in January. So I will not, I have not, in this draft, we have not touched the salary line items. In most cases, we have not made any adjustments because we're still doing evaluations. When we come back for the first reading, we will have those adjustments into the budget for you to look at. So if you skip down to the judge training incentive is $4,373. That's set by Department for Local Government. The judge's office fuel stayed the same at $500. Judge's office reimbursement stayed the same at $200. Training and travel stayed the same at $2,500. Vehicle repairs stayed the same at $500. The county attorney's salary is also set by the state and it has not been adjusted yet. The administrator of diversion program stayed the same at $46,200. The assistant county attorney stayed the same at $52,780. The rocket docket program stayed the same at $50,000. Secretary to the court stayed the same at $1,200. Fees paid certifying deeds to PVA stayed the same at $500. Delinquent tax advertising went from $7,800 to $8,000. The auto boat tax bill preparation went from $13,500 up to $14,000. The sheriff program support went from $1,277,263 to $1,398,400, an increase of $121,137. And that number comes directly off what was approved in the sheriff's budget back in January. The property tax bill preparation stayed the same at $11,500. Sheriff office postage stayed the same at $11,000. The county coroner salary, his will only be increased by the CPI in July, and that's not reflected in there yet. The deputy coroners are part-time. Unless they have a certification, they do not increase. The coroner deputy's expense allowance went from $3,600 to $14,400. We put in there to give the deputy coroners an expense allowance for gas, their clothing, everything that they use right now they provide on their own vehicle, their own gas to run. So we have put in there to do an expense allowance for them to match the expense allowance that's given to the coroner. Autopsy and attendance services stayed the same at 5,000. Coroner fuel stays the same at 2,500. Office supplies stays the same at 300. Coroner supplies the same at 4,000. Coroner training stays the same at 2,000. Coroner building repairs same at 500. Coroner electric stays the same at 6,000. Vehicle repairs stays the same at 2,000. Coroner equipment stays the same at 2,500. Magistrate salaries, those will only increase by the CPI in July, and those have not been reflected. That's not been reflected in there yet. Will be by the first reading. Magistrate's expense allowance stayed the same at 14,400. The magistrate's training incentive, it actually went down because we have a new magistrate. He starts out on the first tier, so it went from 17,249 to 14,213.
So Glenna, just so that everybody knows, on the expense allowances and the training incentives, that's a divide by 4, basically.
Yes, I apologize. Yes, that is divided by 4. Each magistrate all comes out of that same line item. The advertising and legal notices stay the same at 7,000. The grant consulting contract we raised from 35,000 to 50,000. We have not made a new contract yet, but we just put the money in there to be available. We're adding some new duties to that. The contracted engineering services stayed the same at 15,000. Lease payments stayed the same at 23,624. The 911 county support actually went down from 195,308 down to 177,161. Community liaison contract is 50,000, the same. Magistrate rental supplies is at 250. All the magistrate's supplies stayed at 250. Registrations and licensing stayed at $300. Special projects for the court stayed at 10,000. The magistrate's training and travel all stayed at 1,500. The PBA statutory contributions stayed the same at 176,800. Board of Assessment and Appeals stayed at 1,200. The county treasurer's salary has not been calculated. The finance office staff went from 105 to 145. That's because we're going to add a new position in the finance office to help us out with the workload. But no salaries have been calculated in that. That's just adding a new position. The postage machine lease stayed at 3,000. The shredding service stayed at $350. The check W-2 forms and deposit slips stayed at 1,500. Third floor office supplies stayed at 5,000. Finance office postage stayed at 5,000. Third floor printing materials went from 600 down to 500. Finance office training and travel stayed at 2,500. The HR, we renamed this position. It was human resource staff. It was 27,300. It is now HR PR staff. We put in 45,000. That will be a new position. That position is not filled at this time. Human resource director was at 52,435 last year. It's a human resources coordinator now, and we put it in at 45,000. Employment testing program went from 20,000 down to 15,000. The HR safety implementation stayed at 5,000. HR/PR training and travel, 2,500. Employee trainings, we changed to employee trainings and events and kept it at 1,200. Occupational tax refunds, we have at 80,000, kept at 80,000. Fees to the circuit clerk law library stayed at 1,200. Election board commissioners stayed at 6,000. Election officers and extra personnel went from 55,000 to 90,000. The election advertising stayed the same at 4,000. The election equipment balance and maintenance, we have spent 113,000 this year. We've got it at 99,500 for next year. And election office expenses went from 12,400 to 28,700.
Well, I know the election officers went up because the 4 days, Kenny, of elections this next time.
That's correct. Yeah, we budgeted heavier than what we think we need to be able to handle the workload of the 3 days of early voting.
How many different voting sites are you gonna try to have, Kenny?
My clock's going off. Colleen's gonna love it. Hang on.
Are we on Jeopardy right now?
It's halfway.
Laws of mercy.
What kind of clock? What was he bidding on there with 2 fingers?
I was saying that was 2 strikes. It's 10 o'clock, everybody. Yeah, I don't remember what I'm talking about now.
The
The
number
locations.
of
We're going
voting,
to try to have 7.
okay,
And it's not about the number of people, it's about having 7 good locations. But I think a county this size, especially like I say, last time we had almost 2 weeks of early voting, did 19,000 people. We won't have that heavy a turnout, but we're going to try to cram it into 3 days this time. So it's going
and
to
any
have that big.
any precinct can vote in those locations. Is that
That's correct. No matter where you live, you go anywhere you want to vote.
All right, thanks, Kenny.
Sure.
Okay. Next will be the janitorial. Like I said, we do not have the salary line items figured at this time. Jump down to courthouse dumpster service, stayed at $2,750. Courthouse custodial supplies stayed at $5,500. Custodial fuel stayed the same at $1,000. Uniforms the same at $500. Courthouse decor, we had transferred some money into that to make it $2,000. It's going to stay at $1,000. Courthouse repairs stays the same at $24,000. Custodial travel reimbursement stays the same at $100. Courthouse water and sewer stays the same at $4,000. Electric the same at $38,000. Natural gas the same at $5,000. Vehicle repair the same at $1,000. Custodial equipment at $1,000. Family court custodial supplies stay the same at $2,500. Family court repairs, we actually dropped down from $10,000 to $5,000.
Hey, Glenna, can we just make the statement too that on the electric across the board that we're not showing actual numbers from our upgrades?
Yes, we kept all the electric basically the same until we get this energy savings project completely finished. And a year under our belt, we really won't know what the savings is. So we would rather be conservative and keep them the same for this year.
Thank you.
The family court water and sewer, we kept the same at $1,000. Family court electric, we raised from $53,000 to $55,000. Family court gas kept the same at $750. First Street Annex custodial supplies the same at $300. Madison Avenue custodial supplies $250. County Parks custodial supplies stayed the same at $500. Road Department North and South stayed the same at $450 and $300. Fire custodial supplies stayed the same at $400. First Street Annex repairs, we actually lowered from $26,000 down to $9,000. Madison Avenue repairs stayed the same at $1,000. County Park repairs, we're raising from $8,200 to $25,000, and we have about a $20,000 project in there of replacing the deck on the bridges and the dock out at Whitehall Park, and that'll be done in-house, and that was the estimate on it. First Street Annex water stayed the same at $750. Madison Avenue water sewer went from $1,250 down to $1,000. First Street Annex electric stayed the same at $19,000. Madison Avenue electric dropped from $8,000 to $6,000. First Street Annex natural gas stayed the same at $2,500. Courthouse Annex custodial supplies stayed the same at $5,000. Courthouse Annex repairs, we dropped from $30,000 down to $20,000. Hopefully with our new savings project, we won't have to spend as much on repairs. Courthouse Annex water and sewer stayed the same at $9,000. The Annex electric stayed the same at $78,000. We did add in a line item for Chase Bank utilities. We had just been charging that to Chase Bank renovations. We need the line item for it. So we brought that in at 35,000. Information, the IT staff, we will figure next first reading. KCGC expenses, we kept at 10,000. This is the with Scott County, the agreement on them coming on to our servers. That's the expenses on that. System software maintenance went from 44,900 up to 106,100.
All right, can Chris tell us about that one, please?
Yeah, give him just a minute to pull it up. We'll come back to that. Glenna, just keep moving forward. We'll come back to the.
Okay. ID department expenses, 3,053 to 3,675. Animal shelter expenses went from 3,154 to 2,540. And we break all these IT expenses out between the departments, just to keep track of them, of which, you know, all of our softwares, like our spend map that we do, our purchase order software, our fiscal soft that we do all, we divide the cost, the maintenance cost on that between all the departments by how many people work in each department.
That one particular line, I know he's looking up. The only reason I asked about it at all was because it's a $62,000 increase.
The next page, until he gets ready, the finance expenses went from 6,399 to 6,245. Fire department expenses 22,278 to 20,713. Planning 5,654 to 6,001. Road department expenses 22,462 to 24,654. Golf park expenses 11,568 to 11,737. HR expenses 1,131 down to 484. Jail expenses 16,164 down to 14,498. Judge's office expenses 2,124 down to 1,937. Facilities, which is like our custodial, 2,605 to 2,286. Corner expenses 889 down to 902. 911 13,270 to 12,102.
Glenna, hold on just a second. I think Tom's got a question.
Well, I just want to point out as we're going down through and talking about these expenses, what we're talking about is IT expenses, just so everybody else knows.
Yes, all of these line items I'm going over right now are all IT.
Yeah, and before we move forward, Chris has got what the system software maintenance is with the $62,000 increase. Go ahead, Chris.
Tom, that's actually the price of the contracts that we talked about earlier. So that's to include the expense for me to pay out the money for all of those departments' licenses, and then you're recouping it back as an income.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, we pick up at the county attorney expenses on page 14. From 280 down to 174. These are all IT expenses. So all these numbers are calculated to the penny or by Chris. Sheriff expenses went from 1,357 down to 873. Copier maintenance stayed the same at 2,600.
And Glenn, I think it'd be a good time too, just to understand, make sure everybody understands too, the numbers, our account numbers by the state regs with finances for county governments. They have to fall under a certain identification number. So like the 5091, that 5091 actually means something. Can you just kind of refresh everybody on that, just to make sure everybody understands? We don't just pick and choose where we throw it into.
No, there's a Department for Local Government book that gives us all these codes. So your first code that's just 2 digits, like the 01, 02, that tells you what fund it is. So 01 is the general fund, 02 is the road fund, as we go on, 03 is the jail fund. Then the next 4 digits give you the department. So like 5091 is for IT department. And if you look back, back when we started in the judge's office, it's 5001. When you get to the fiscal court in the magistrates, it's 5025. All those are given to us by DLG that we use a certain code for a certain department. And then your next digits after that is telling you what it is. So like 319 is all your data expenses. 573 is utilities and 578 is utilities. So we have to use a certain line for or a certain code for everything. Does that help?
Can I make a point here?
Yeah.
The increase or decrease in the budget numbers are reflected from the previous year, whether they go up or down. Is that correct?
Yes. Every year before when we're developing this draft, the judge and I sit down with all the departments and we look at the last few years. We look at what we've used. When we sit down, we're usually 3/4 the way through the year that we're currently in. So we look at where we stand. We should be around 75%. We look to see if we're below that or above that. And then we look at the past years, what we've used, and we come up with a number to, we want to do our worst case scenario. So in revenues, we're going to budget low, that we hope we bring in more than what we budget for. On our appropriations, we're going to budget high so that we make sure we have enough in those line items to cover any and all expenses that we might have.
Well, it's also good to know, John, that's a good point, that the actuals that we're looking at are not a full year. Actually.
Yes. The actuals in the 2021 year is through March 31st, which is 3/4 the way through the year, 75%. If you go on page 15 to the pictometry contractual services, this is where we pay out for the contract for pictometry, but you'll see that in our revenues, we had income coming in from all those different places for pictometry. So that stayed the same at 44,800. IT fuel stayed the same at 500. The access channel supplies and maintenance, we kept the same at 20,250. The county telephone system, we raised up from 27,000 to 36,000. I do think we had some changes on our bills that Chris is working on, but we went ahead and budgeted for the worst, but he has been working on getting some of those costs that they changed on us back down. But on our telephone system, you also noticed that we had income revenue line items from all kinds of different departments. So each department we provide telephone to, we also get paid for that. The county wireless telephone system stayed the same at 20,000. The IT training and travel for the IT director stayed the same at 2375. For the systems admin, it stayed at 2250. For the GIS coordinator, it stayed at $955. The internet system, I'm sorry.
Glenna, Paul, do you have a question?
No, I was just talking to somebody.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry. I saw your hand go up, man.
Well, yeah. Know how it is. You got to react.
The county internet system, we raised from 23,604 up to 32,000.
So on that one, Glenna, Chris, was there a rate increase that caused that?
Yeah, there was a rate increase, and also we increased it for the KCGC, so some of that is actually coming back as revenue line item as well.
Thank
you. Okay, and then go to page 17. IT vehicle repair stayed the same at 500. System hardware maintenance went from 109,000 down to 26,500. Which you, Chris, if you want to say something on that.
Go ahead, Chris.
Last year, we completed the virtual desktop infrastructure, so that's where that hardware came out of. That's why you see such a decrease. And the only thing that's left in there is the maintenance for
it.
That's a good column, isn't it, Tom?
Yes, sir.
That expense, but that's something that'll come back up in the future, and we'll have an increase again because you'll have to update it.
And it'll be even larger because by that time, CSEP will be gone.
Yeah.
So CSEP cost shared most of that with us.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, the next line item is storage maintenance, went from 4,900 to 10,000. Then on page 18, that was all for the IT. That ends the IT departments. Now we get into juvenile housing and medical. We kept it the same at 15,000. Now we go into the planning department, and you'll see their code is 5115. Skip over the staff, Board of Adjustments, we kept at 5,000. Planning Commission, we kept at 14,000. Planning and Development legal notices, we had at 4,500, dropped to 4,000. Comprehensive Plan Development, we raised from 50,000 to 80,000. Electrical inspections contract stayed the same at 60,000. Property
Glenna, on the comprehensive plan development, we need to probably get with Bert, just FYI. I don't know if we did our calculation correct on that one, so just make a note.
Okay.
On that we need to sit down with him to make sure that's correct. Because I think we had some funds we had some in this year's budget, and then it's going to roll into next year's budget. And then we also have our land use regs part, kind of the phase 2 of our comprehensive plan, I'll say. And I just want to make sure that we calculated all that correct.
Okay.
So, okay. And
Judge, is that comprehensive plan revised every 4 years or every year?
It's 5 years, John.
5-year plan.
Yeah, it's 5 years. When you're doing your plan, it's really kind of a 20-year vision when you're going through it. And so I'm going to say this is really as fiscal court members, it's kind of our first one, the way we're actually doing a kind of a whole revision of it. And we'll be presenting, we actually have a public hearing coming up the middle of the month, I believe, Bert, which will get all that information out to you all so you all can attend. But we'll be presenting that plan. I'm thinking maybe to the court, maybe sometime September, I think, Bert.
In the fall, September, October, yeah.
And then once we finish the comp plan, we'll move into our land use regs, and those changes that'll take place. So it's sort of a 2-step process. But for the purposes today, I just want to make sure that amount is correct. Glenna, we'll get with Bert on that before we present the first draft. And any changes to the members, fiscal court members, any changes we make between now and then, we'll make sure they're, in red, so y'all will know what we've maybe had to adjust.
Okay, we're down to the property codes violations. We kept at 2,000. Planning gasoline, we kept at 5,000. Planning equipment supplies stayed the same at 1,000. Signs stayed the same at 1,000. Planning reimbursements, we dropped from 4,000 down to 1,000. Training and travel, we kept the same at 5,000. Subdivision security lights, we kept the same at 12,000. Planning vehicle repairs, we dropped from 3,000 down to 2,000. And that's all the planning department. Then we go into the fire department staff and skip over the staff and the firefighters incentive pay. Equipment annual testing, we raised from 4,000 to 5,500. Fire department supplies, we dropped from 7,000 to 5,500. Fire gasoline and oil, we kept the same at 26,000. Fire specific equipment, we dropped from 25,000 to 20,000. Fire PPE equipment, we kept at 25,000. Uniforms, we raised from 15,000 to 16,000. Berea Fire Department, we kept the same at 68,000. Kirksville Volunteer Fire Department, we kept the same at 16,000. Westwood Volunteer, same at 16,000. Whitehall Volunteer, same at 16,000. Union City Volunteer, same at 16,000. Berea Rescue Squad, we kept the same at 8,500. Red Lake Volunteer Fire Department, we kept the same at 16,000. Fire building repairs, we dropped from 10,000 to 6,000. Fire training and travel, we kept at 6,000. Fire department number 2, water, 1,500, the same. Fire department number 1, water, 750 to 800. Fire department number 2, electric, kept the same at 9,000. Number 1, electric, kept the same at 13,500. Fire department number 2, natural gas, we kept at 3,000. Fire department number 1, natural gas, we kept at 1,500. Yes.
Excuse me, is fire department number 2 using more gas than department 1? Are those numbers reversed?
Let's Yes, they do use more. I think they have more stuff on natural gas.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing.
The other
that-
numbers reflected
it's a cost
that
share.
number one was using more, and that one reversed there, so I had a question about it.
Yeah, it does use more gas. You're paying for the whole building at fire department 2. Fire department number 1, they're only paying for a portion of that building.
It's a cost
Okay.
share. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cost share and rated out.
Yeah.
Fire department vehicle repair and maintenance, we kept the same at 30,000. Fire communications equipment, we dropped from 1,000 to 500. Fire rescue equipment, we kept at 25,000. And then you jump down to the EMA. The EMA staff, skip over it, program advertising. We had transferred that out. That should be 150 and kept at 150. We had transferred that out this year already and put it in another line item. ThreatNet weather service, 1,800 stayed 1,800. EMA hazmat supply stayed 2,000. EMA gasoline, it normally was 1,000. We had transferred extra in there because of the generators and stuff that we had this year during COVID, but we kept it at 1,000. EMA vehicle repairs stayed 1,000. Office supplies stayed 600. COVID-19 supplies and equipment. This is the line item we put in to the budget this year to keep track of everything that we bought that had to do with COVID. This is where we turned in this money on the CARES money. We do not need that line item. As of right now, we're going to keep it in there, but we're going to put it at 0. The registration conferences and trainings for EMA is going from 1,000 to 2,000. And the Homeland Security grant stayed the same at 100,000. And that is a wash. We had 100,000 coming in on the revenue side, 100,000 going out. We don't know what kind of Homeland Security grant we might get, but we just put 100,000 there in case we do get one. But it is a wash. If you look to page 24, toward the bottom of the page, you have an ambulance grant. It stays the same at 10,000. The forest fire suppression stayed the same at 1,800. You skip over the salary line items for the animal shelter. Go down to animal shelter overtime, we kept at 5,000. Animal medical supplies, we kept at 6,500. The KACAB spay neuter grant, we got 5,000 in, or spent out 5,000 this year. We are going to apply, I think, next year for the grant, but we don't know what it's going to be yet. So we left the line item in and just put it at 0 until we actually receive the grant. Animal shelter food and supplies, we kept at 3,700. Microchips for animals, we lowered from 5,000 to 3,500. Animal shelter gasoline, we kept at 5,000. Animal shelter vehicle repairs, we lowered from 4,500 to 4,000. Animal shelter office supplies, we lowered from 1,000 to 750. Animal shelter operational supplies, we have in at 1,870, we raised it to 2,000. Animal shelter uniforms, we kept at 1,500. Animal shelter repairs, we kept at 15,000. Animal shelter training and travel, we kept at 1,500. The water and sewer at 500. Animal shelter electric stayed the same at 14,000. Animal shelter natural gas stayed the same at 2,000. Animal shelter mowing stayed the same at 1,500. Animal shelter equipment repairs stayed the same at 1,000. Animal shelter spay neuter program stayed the same at 15,000. And then we get into the solid waste department. Go down to the litter abatement program.
Real quick, Glenn, I just want to make a point here on the mowing. When we say the animal shelter mowing, we actually pay the road department. We pay the road fund. The road department actually does, and Masters, I'm sure, pretty positive y'all are all aware of that, but our road department does all that mowing for our parks, our animal shelter, and they bill those departments for that. So just FYI.
Yes. The litter abatement, last year we got 63,822. This year we should get 63,999. Solid waste contracting services. This is with the dump where we take all the all the trash to, everything to, stayed the same at 58,000.
Hey, Jeff, I just want to make a comment back on the litter abatement program. That's a line item that I wish that we were able to increase and get more funds in that, because that's one that we get direct service for. That is a really good program. Get our money's worth out of that.
Yeah, that is a set amount by the state that they send to us. I wish we could get more.
What is that program? What is the program?
They send us funding, and that is where we hire the nonprofit groups to pick up the sides of the roads, and we pay them $100 per mile.
Hey, I'm gonna correct a word there. We don't really hire them.
Okay.
Sorry, we don't hire them, but part of that state program is that nonprofits can get with our solid waste departments, and that monies can go to pay for cleanup. So a lot of our, I mean, church groups, youth sports groups, or some of our high school sports groups. I mean, there's numerous. Scott and Amanda really deal with that, but we provide the trash pickers, gloves, the vests, trash bags, and then they get $100 a mile for how many ever miles they clean up. Good program. Yeah, and it's used a lot. I mean, it really is.
Really good.
And it's typically twice a year, Paul. They'll have a spring cleanup and then a fall cleanup.
Good.
Okay, we're down to the hazardous waste. We have in hazardous waste 30. It went from 40 this past year. I don't think that's what we had budgeted, but that's what we ended up having. We spent $40,393 on the hazardous waste cleanup. This year it's $37,875, and those numbers come straight from Scott Shepard. He gets those calculated. Illegal dumps is $27,145. Solid waste fuel stayed the same at $25,000.
Well, let me ask. I've got a question, Judge. Do we have something in mind we need to clean up with the illegal dumps this year? We're just going to kind of bear down on it a little harder. Try to clean up some illegal dumps.
No, this is a specific project. There was an illegal dump that was found out on the north end of the county on 25. And we sent in I don't necessarily know if we call it a grant, but we got funding through the state to actually clean this one up. And so when we identify actual illegal dumps like that, we can send in, they actually come out and meet with Scott. They identify and see if there's any funding available. So this is a specific project.
So this is state reimbursed. It's not going to affect us.
That's right. And a lot of times those grants are like many of them where it's, it's a cost share, 75-25. So the county, might have 25% of the cost in this, but a lot of our costs can be in kind. So we can count our equipment or our labor or that kind of thing. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
That is state funded. Both the hazardous waste and the illegal dumps is money that comes from the state. Solid waste fuel stays the same. Solid waste vehicle repairs stays the same at $30,000. Dead animal removal supply stays the same at $1,250. Solid waste operational supplies stay the same at $1,500. Solid waste uniform stays the same at $1,500. A solid waste reimbursement stays the same at $250. Solid waste training and travel stays the same at $500. Then we get down to Safety City. Safety City supplies stay the same at $800. Safety City repairs stay the same at $1,000. Safety City water and sewer stays the same at $800. Safety City electric stays the same at $2,500. Then we have the soil conservation support. This is stays the same this year. It's $78,438. We send that to them. They invoice us quarterly for it. Court-ordered legal psychological stays the same at $40,000. These are all court-ordered, comes to us, and we have to pay for them to either be seen by the psychologist or be represented by legal services. And that is the KRS. The general welfare burial assistance stays the same at $2,500. The airport board stays the same at $25,000. Kentucky River Foothills Transport stays the same at $44,000. The Kentucky ASAP grant, we had a lot of carryover, which made it $56,785. I'm not sure how much carryover they'll have. They will be getting in $25,000, so we have it at $25,000. If they have carryover, I will adjust that after the year starts to get their exact balance. The harm reduction grant is a $20,000, stays the same. Richmond Senior Citizen Center stays the same at $10,000. Berea Senior Citizen Center stays the same at $10,000. The Hope's Wings Health and Family Grant stays the same at $100,000. You click, skip over the county park staff. The Battlefield Park dumpster service stays the same at $1,200. County Parks vehicles repairs goes from $300 to $500. County Parks office supplies stay the same at $300. We added a line item that's relocation expenses to Pleasant View for $20,000. Did you speak about that, Judge?
Yeah, we're looking to the quarters 29, the Rogers House. We're looking to move that, and the visitor center actually be down at Pleasant View. We're in discussions right now about that, and so we're just allowing for that expenditure to move that down to the actual Battlefield Park.
Judge, will that count on doing any repairs down at Battlefield that needs to be done, or that'll be extra cost?
No, there shouldn't be any repairs need to be done. You know, there was a grant when we first all came into office back in, I guess, 2015, where they actually renovated the Pleasant View house, made improvements to where that it could be open to the public. And according to the grant, it's supposed to be open so many hours a week right now. And so we're, again, trying to be efficient, be resourceful, and not have two places that are open all the time and just have one. Plus, I feel like, too, it invites people to our park, those that are traveling that want to stop by and learn about the Battle of Richmond and see the history there. It'll allow them to actually come to the park instead of the Rogers House.
Hey, Judge, I just wanted to ask before we get too far away from it, on the Will Green Lake Marina repairs, should we include something in there for the parking lot damage?
That'll be in the road department. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We also have another line item called county parks repairs that's just for all county parks. Next up after that one is the Battlefield Historic Park Special Events. It actually was at 2,000. We transferred some money out of there, so it's staying the same at 2,000. The Herndon Ranch House Utilities stays the same at 1,100. The Battlefield Visitor Center water sewer stays the same at 400. Battlefield Park sewer water stays the same at 900. Whitehall Park water sewer is going from 1,400 down to 1,200. Union City Park water sewer went from 700 down to 600. Will Green Lake Marina water sewer went from 1,200 down to 1,000. Battlefield Visitor Center electric stayed the same at 4,000. Battlefield Park electric stayed the same at 5,500. Whitehall Park electric went from 2,000 down to 1,500. Union City Park went from 1,000 to 1,200. Kirksville Park electric went from 750. Will Green Lake Marina electric stayed the same at 1,400. Battlefield Visitor Center natural gas stayed the same at 1,100. Battlefield Park natural gas stayed the same at 500. County Parks mowing stayed the same at 20,000, and this is the same as the animal shelter. The road does the mowing and bills the county parks. Then we get to the golf course. Skip over the pro shop staff. We have the golf course advertising handicap fee stayed the same at $1,400. Pro shop custodial supplies dropped from $1,100 down to $300. Pro shop food resale dropped from $10,000 to $9,000. Pro shop merchandise resale dropped from $8,000 to $7,500. Pro shop office supplies stayed the same at $1,000. Pro shop repair and pest control went from $1,500 to $9,500. And the reason for that is we have an $8,000 painting project that we have included in that for this year. The golf course maintenance staff skip over. Golf cart lease stayed the same at $31,600. Maintenance equipment lease stays the same at $57,000. Golf course dumpster service stays the same at $1,680. Maintenance barn supply stays the same at $4,000. Chemicals, fertilizer, seed, and sand goes up from $45,000 to $48,000. Golf course gasoline goes up from $20,000 to $23,000. Golf course aerification stays the same at $11,000. Golf course equipment maintenance repairs drops from $9,500 to $7,000. Golf course irrigation maintenance stays the same at $5,000. Golf course sales and usage tax went up from $18,000 to $24,000. Everything is in the sales tax rules changed last year. Everything is taxable out there now. So,
Glenna,
yes.
coming back up to the golf course gasoline, it went up 3,000, but actual was only 87 something, and they had 20,000 to cover it.
Part of that, Roger, is where the golf course was closed due to COVID.
Okay.
Is why that expenditure is.
Okay.
But since we've opened back up, we're getting a lot more play than we've ever had, and then also with fuel prices increasing, again, we wanted to make sure that we covered all of our costs, so we felt like it was best to raise it just a little bit.
Well, that's what I was going by, because the other fuel prices that I looked at, we were staying the same, but that was because we hadn't used the amount that we had allocated for it.
Yeah.
But this one was
That's
just
only
off the amount.
3/4 too, isn't it, Judge?
It
Yeah.
is.
When I look back at the others, I can see that it was up more the years before.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I got.
Yep.
Judge, I got a question on that as well. On the golf course sales tax usage up from 18 to 24. Wouldn't we also, with that, expect that from page 32, the resale items, which we dropped, would expect those items to at least be the same? Why would we anticipate a drop if we've got a usage increase?
Well, so the merchandise resale, that's just dealing with merchandise, and that just depends on how much merchandise that Gary's going to keep out there for resale. The usage tax, I don't believe, Glenna, now carts are
No.
everything's taxed.
Yes. Greens fees used to not be taxed, which is
Yeah.
our biggest amount that we do out there, and money wise is greens fees. Greens fees did not be taxed until July. In July this year, they changed the law and it has to be taxed. Everything out at the golf course is taxed now. It used to be I could deduct green fees off and we didn't have to pay taxes on that.
All right, thank you.
And it was carts. It was carts. You had to pay tax on the carts, right, Glenna? And not if you were just walking, but now it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah. Tom, does that answer your question?
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it doesn't, I mean, we'll talk through it because I want y'all to make sure you understand.
Well, we might end up seeing, I mean, I understand what you're saying about the usage fees, but that line is also included with sales. It's not just golf course usage, it's golf course sales.
Yeah, the sales and usage tax is one tax. That's just what they call sales tax. They call it a sales and usage tax.
Right.
So that every month I have to calculate up what we have sold, not only at the golf course, but at the animal shelter. That's taxed too. The only thing at the animal shelter that's not taxed is donations. So I have to do that up every month and send the state the sales tax.
But the pro shop and merchandise resale, that's the line item you were referring back to, right, Tom?
Right.
Well, that doesn't include any kind of green fees, cart fees. That would just be like tees or balls or shirts or whatever that we're actually purchasing. If you go back on the revenue side, it'll show those line items that correlate with green fees, cart fees, and then there'll be one for merchandise, I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
Golf course training and travel stayed the same at 500. Golf course water sewer stayed the same at 4,000. Golf course electric stayed the same at 13,500. Golf course natural gas stayed the same at 2,000. The Valley View Ferry Authority stayed the same at 20,000. The 2017 series bond principal and the interest, those are taken strictly off the loan schedules. It went from 330,000 to 350 on the principal, but the interest dropped from 204,450 down to 187,950. The 2012 bonds, the principal went from 460,000 down to 365,000. The interest went from 163,675 to 154,474. The ALC courthouse renovations note, we only paid $4,425.90, and in the new year it'll be $20,000. The Keiko fire truck lease principal went from $40,220 to $41,321. The Keiko election equipment principal went from $47,568 to $49,325. The Keiko fire truck interest went from $9,981 to $8,718. The Keiko election equipment lease interest went from $12,053 down to $10,133. Then we go down to the courthouse ALC renovations. We have taken, we had originally $6 million in there. Let's see. Yeah, we had $6 million in there, but we have taken money out of that to move to other line items. But it is going to be at $5 million, and and that's that $6 million construction loan that we have. $5 million of it, we've already used 500,000 of it. $5 million of it will be in courthouse ALC renovations. And then if you jump down 2 line items, you'll see 500,000 is in the Chase building renovations. So we just kind of split that 5,500 that's left out of that $6 million construction loan in between those 2 line items. Then you have the courthouse annex renovation. We left it at 200,000. And then the energy savings and renovation project, we have at 7 million. Now, if you take that 5 million up on the ALC renovation, courthouse renovation, the 500,000 on the Chase building renovation, and the 7 million on the energy savings, that comes up to your 12,500,000 that we had on the revenue side coming in from bond sales. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, jump down to purchase new property. We kept it at 50,000. Capital project equipment, just for the general fund in general, is kept at 50,000. Auditing service is kept at 60,000. The insurance, property liability, these are numbers I got straight from Keiko on the new, what our new amounts are going to be. It's $591,998, and that's our property liability insurance, auto insurance. It went up 8,000. The insurance, yes.
On the auditing services, will you tell everybody why there's an increase of $20,000 on that?
Okay, it's an increase from the 19. We normally would have paid 35 to 40,000 for our auditing services, but once every 4 years, the state, you have to use, the state has to come in and send their auditors in. Well, they cost a lot more than private auditors.
And
so
we
had
this past year, correct?
Yes, they are currently still auditing us and should be done in the next week or so. I don't know when we'll receive their invoice. It may be into the new fiscal year before we receive an invoice from them. So I went ahead and kept it as 60 for the new year. Then hopefully after that, I've already got CPAs lined up for the following year, and we can drop it back down some.
Glenna, real quick on that. So if that happens and they don't get us a bill this year, then this line item will not be enough because we'd actually have 2 bills in next fiscal year.
Yes, we would have to transfer out of reserve for transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get us I don't know whether they'll get us a new line item or get us a bill before the June 30th. I would hope they would, but.
Well, we'll just keep an eye on it between now and maybe the first reading. And if we see that we need to adjust that because they're not going to get us an invoice, so we maybe just make a note there on that line item.
Property liability, like I said, is $591,998, which is a small increase of $8,000. Insurance claims, we normally have $50,000 in there. We did have to raise that up because of the insurance claims that we've had. We've spent $85,156 so far, but we're going to leave it at $50,000. And that's usually a wash between the mostly the insurance revenue line item coming in. So even when our amount is up on insurance claims, our amount on our revenue side is also up. Just depends on how many claims we have in a year. So what we're paying out is actually insurance money that's brought in from KCO. Public officials bond stays the same at $5,000. Dues stay the same at $21,000. Reserve for transfer, that $6,481,838 on 2021 is after we've had budget amendments put into that. So the original budget for 2021 was $4,356,276, and now we're at $4,259,541. So just around $100,000 less.
Do you see more funding coming in for that, Glenna?
Right. We had to get this energy project started. So we used some of that $1,400,000 to make the first payment. When we get the bond, when the bonding on that project is done, we will reimburse ourselves that $1.4 million, and that will bring our reserves back up.
Okay.
Until that happens, I can't raise it up. Social Security, retirement. Now, retirement is overall, it's going on non-hazardous from 24.06% to 26.95%. So almost a 3% increase. Hazardous retirement is going from 39.58% to 44.33%. So almost a 5% jump. I do not have the retirement, Social Security, Medicare, because I cannot calculate those until we have the exact salaries calculated. The health insurance we will be deciding on the next court meeting, and we will do the adjustment on the health insurance line items then. The unemployment compensation insurance went from $27,696 down to $20,696. That's a $7,000 decrease in our unemployment insurance. Workers' compensation insurance went from $224,512 down to $219,304. That's a $5,000 increase. So even though our property liability went up $8,000, our other two dropped $12,000. So we actually had a decrease in all of our insurances by $4,000 with KCO. Does anybody have any other questions about the general fund appropriations? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the road fund. We'll start out with the revenues. It has 2 pages. The first is the road federal reimbursement, and this is our FEMA, the DR 4428 disaster of the floods. So we have, they owe us $346,296. I don't expect that to be in. We had it in last year's budget. We are finished with that project, but I don't expect that they're going to reimburse us until next year sometime. So we have that budgeted in to come in next year. The bridge emergency state reimbursement. We never know exactly what projects we're going to have under this. So just like the Homeland Security line item in the general fund, we do the same thing with this one in the road fund. We have $100,000 coming in and $100,000 coming out. That way, if we have a bridge that needs replacing and it's $56,000, we don't have to go through the process of doing a budget amendment. We've already got $100,000 wash in the revenue and the expenditure line items. Next is transportation cabinet. We don't know of any projects right now. This is discretionary monies. So we leave it at 0. And if we get any discretionary monies in, we will budget amend it in at that time. The state rural secondary flex funding it went from $303,355 to $284,516. The truck license distribution went from $233,870 to $226,429. Both those they give us those numbers from DLG and the transportation cabinet. So we didn't adjust those. They give us those exact numbers. Driver's license refund stays the same at $8,000. County road aid, we got our contract went from, you can see in last year we had $1,299,214 budgeted. We got in $1,357,842. We have budgeted for this year or for next year $1,451,677, and that come off of our contract. Municipal road aid stayed the same at $132,039. County fleet vehicle repairs. This is the line item where we bill out to other departments and other entities. When we do repairs on their vehicles, we bill them, invoice them, and they pay us. This is the line item it comes in on. We left it at $140,000. County mowing. This is where the county parks and the animal shelter repay the road fund for their mowing, $21,500. The road reimbursement stayed the same at $5,000. Interest stayed the same at $250. And surplus, which is what's in your bank account on June 30th, stayed the same at $200,000. And transfers from other funds. Last year we had $933,697. So far, we've only had to transfer $500,000 into the road fund of that $933. Hopefully, we won't have to transfer more. This next year, it is $636,594. That's a decrease of $297,103. Does anybody have any questions about the road revenues? Okay, go to the appropriations. The whole first page is salaries. Go to the second page, down to bridge emergency repairs. We put $100,000. That's where I was talking about. We have a wash, comes in a revenue of $100,000 and an expenditure of $100,000. Contracted surveying, we kept the same at $5,000. Road medical supplies, the same at $1,000. Asphalt resurfacing, the same at $425. The flex funding, just like on the revenue side, dropped from $303,355 to $284,516. Asphalt patching stayed the same at $75,000. Asphalt discretionary funds, we leave at 0 until we have any to budget amend in. Concrete stayed the same at $20,000. Erosion control, same at $10,000. Rock number 23, the same at $5,000. Rock crush base, the same at $15,000. All the rock stayed the same as you look down through there. Diesel fuel number 2 stayed the same at $40,000. Diesel fuel off-road stayed the same at $25,000. Bulk oil and grease stayed the same at $10,000. Salt stayed the same at $200,000. Garage supplies stayed the same at $15,000. Gasoline stayed the same at $40,000. General construction materials stayed the same at $10,000. Equipment parts stayed the same at 50,000. Motor vehicle parts for heavy trucks stayed the same, 50,000. Motor vehicle parts light medium trucks stayed the same at 20,000. Both those are line items that when we work on our own equipment, that is the line items we use. This next line item, which is called parts fleet vehicles, it stayed the same at 80,000. That is where we charge all parts that are used on other people's vehicles that we work on. So like the utility district, we work on their vehicle, we would charge it to this line item, we would invoice them, and they would pay us back, and we would put it in the fleet line item in the revenues. Office supplies stayed the same at 3,000. Safety gear stayed the same at 5,000. Pipes, culverts the same at 40,000. Signs the same at 12,500. Tools the same at 2,000. Equipment, tires, and tubes the same at 15,000. Trucks, tires, and tubes the same at 20,000. Uniforms the same at 10,000. Road travel training the same at 5,000. Road north water sewer the same at 2,000. Road south water sewer went from 1,000 to 1,200. Road north electric stayed the same at 14,000. Road south electric stayed the same at 5,000. Road north natural gas stayed the same at 10,000. Road south natural gas went from 4,000 to 4,500. Road north repairs stayed the same at 3,000. Road south repairs stayed the same at 3,000. Radio communications equipment stayed the same at 1,500. Road equipment purchase, last year we had 52,486. This year we have 228,500. That consists of the equipment listed to purchase as a Bobcat compact track loader for 65,000, a Freightliner snow truck for 120,000, an AC service machine for Freon for 8,500, and a Chevy three-quarter ton truck for 35,000. That's what makes up that 228,500. You go down to the FEMA DR Kentucky 4428. We are done with that project, so we will zero that out. Reserve for transfer stayed the same at 20,000, and the Social Security, retirement, and health have not been adjusted yet. Does anybody have any questions about the road?
I've got.
Hey, Tom, you were already unmuted. You muted yourself back. There you go. No worries.
What was your question?
Improvement to this, so whenever you talk, it just unmute you. No, never mind. Listen. The road equipment purchases, the line item in there for the snow truck. Can Scott or one of them tell us about that one?
Yeah, Tom, I'd be glad to. What we done, we kind of made a plan last year when we bought the 10 new trucks. We knew that our fleet was aging out and most of our trucks were 20 years old. So our plan was to get the bond to buy the 10 new trucks, and then we would continue to buy one new truck every year. And then that way our fleet wouldn't expire at the same time. We would always have a 1 year newer truck for the next 10 years, and that would get us a 20 truck fleet in the next 10 years. That was
Okay.
Yeah, Tom, it's kind of the same philosophy we've done with our regular pickups. You know, when we first came in, we try to buy 2 every year, put them on a lifespan. So it's kind of the same mindset with this, which is, I think, the smart.
Get over to the sheriff's department.
I'm sorry?
Same thing we did over to the sheriff's department.
That's right. Yeah.
Scott, what other equipment were you purchasing besides the truck and the Bobcat?
we were purchasing
AC service machine.
Yeah.
AC service machine, and what that is last year they changed all the new vehicles to a different type Freon, and you had to have a special machine in order to service the air conditioners on all the new sheriff's cars, any type of model, and it's supposed to be a new eco-friendly Freon.
Right.
And then the other one was the 3/4 ton Chevy truck.
And that's basically just keeping up with our replacement of our old vehicles so that we never run out and keep our fleet vibrant.
Routinely every year. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then did you hear the Bobcat, John?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, that seems like it's hard to explain that, but that's a very smart thing to do. And the sheriff's department was the same way. You know, we did the same thing with the trucks that they bought there on the contract. And then it's a very smart way to do it because we don't end up with that big, at one time, huge cost to have to come up with all that extra money when everything's wore out. So that's a good job, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions about our road fund? All right, seeing none, Glenna, I think we'll move to the jail fund.
Yes, moving to the jail fund, the revenues. The very first line item is a new line item. It's an actual grant that Tom Webb got for us. And it is a wash. You'll see 25,000 coming in on the revenue side. You'll see a COVID line item going out on the expenditure side in a few minutes for 25,000. The state jail allotment stays the same at 180,000. Court cost collections, some of these are down, and as the courts pick back up, hopefully they will pick back up, but we have to make adjustments because we're not sure if they will or not. So we've brought the court cost collections down from 26,000 down to 18,000. Contract with SSA. This is where we turn into the Social Security Administration. Anybody who's booked into the jail that is on Social Security receiving a check, we notify them and they give us a incentive for notifying them. And it is down some, so we dropped it from 18,000 to 10,000. State prisoners. This is where we bill out for the state prisoners that we keep. We had to drop it from 550,000 down to 350,000. That's a $200,000 drop. DUI fees, we've dropped from 12,000 down to 10,000. Miscellaneous, we kept the same at 500. The law enforcement supplement, we've dropped from 7,000 down to 5,000. The local corrections assistance, it has stayed the same at 74,596. Work release, we kept the same at 1,200. Jail housing fees, we've dropped from 60,000 down to 40,000 based on the revenues that we've been receiving. Home incarceration fees, these are going up from 40,000 to 100,000 because we're trying to keep more than about double what we have been keeping on home incarceration. So not only will the expenses increase, but also the revenues here will increase as we bill out for those. The jail bond collection fee stays the same at 100. The booking fee stays the same at 100,000. Medical fees stay the same at 2,000. Jail telephone commission stay the same at 132,000. County attorney traffic school fees, which is sent to us by the state, we dropped from 4,800 to 3,500.
Glenn, I got a question if you don't mind. On the jail commissary, 2 years ago it was 200,000. Is that going to another line item now?
No. At that time, we got reimbursed for a commissary employee, and then they quit doing. Used to, the jail did their own commissary. They bought the supplies, they sold it, they did everything. Then they went to a company that does it. So we don't have. We used to get reimbursed for the commissary employee, like we paid their salary, and then the commissary would pay us back for that employee's salary. That no longer happens. Plus, just the money that they made off that, they gave back to us in just random times throughout the year. That no longer.
This service is contracted out, basically. Then.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, just to be clear, the commissary account is under the jailer's authority. That's his, what he makes in commissary is his. And they used to reimburse that whole 200,000 would also reimburse back for some medical expenses that you'll see here in a minute in the appropriations. But they don't reimburse back for any of that anymore. They're using that line item, their commissary funds, for other things. And it used to be, I think, a little bit more strict, Steve, and you can jump in anytime. I think it used to be a little bit more strict what they could use commissary. funds for.
It is. And John, to answer your question on that, we almost solely use that for our medical expenses. And that's medical expenses that we don't fit in other line items, such as inmate that we have to take to a hospital or to a doctor's visit. And because they are in our care, we have to burden that cost. So Sherry pays our medical bills out of the commissary fund. And actually, it's generally, it's not even enough. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
Steve, is there a direct correlation between the jail housing fees and the booking fees?
Yes.
So we had a $20,000 reduction in the housing fees, but we had the same amount in for the booking fees.
The difference being is this being a COVID year that our numbers were down, Tom.
Well, also booking fees and housing fees are two different fees.
Yes.
Booking fees are fees that when you're booked in, you pay those fees. And I think you pretty well have to pay those fees. Housing fee, Tom, is when if you remember a few years ago, I think we adjusted the per night, the per day fee. I can't even remember what those fees are, but I'm pretty sure that's what the housing fee is.
Right now it's $2, Judge.
Yeah, I remember.
And again, that's based on availability because most of our inmates are considered indigent. So we bill them and we get what we can, but that's very limited. Same on the medical fees, right, Steve? Yes.
You would expect some kind of increase in some of that simply because everybody got the stimulus money this year, but I guess that went to something else.
They're not going to put it in their commissary account to be taken. I can tell you that.
Obviously.
Yeah. If they put money in, Tom, and just to refresh everybody, if the family or whomever puts money in their commissary account, if they owe the jail money, we get the first 50% of that money.
And then we probably did receive about 10 stimulus checks that were put on their account.
All right, I think we can move on, Glenna.
If you go down to interest earned, it stayed the same at 100. Surplus from prior years stayed the same at 145,000. The renovation bond sale proceeds, that 600,000. Hopefully, with the new energy project, we took that line item out. We won't need that. We're making the renovations that we were going to make with that 600,000 is being done by the energy project. And the transfers from other funds last year was $2,971,738, which we've already transferred $2,500,000. And this next year should be $3,596,038, which is an increase of $624,300. Which, if you just look at two line items, state prisoners went down $200,000 on revenues, and you'll see in the appropriation our contract housing is going to go up $400,000. So right there is your $600,000 that difference in what the general fund is going to have to fund. Does anybody have any questions about the revenues of the jail fund? Move on to the appropriations. If you look on page 1, if you skip all the way down to the jailer training incentive, it stays the same at $2,200. The IT support, it is actually in here. It stays the same as $11,868, but I do need to change that. That was because Chris did increase that when we went through his line item. It should be $18,221, and I will make that change before the first reading.
Can I ask you a question about overtime? Why would you have so much overtime?
Mostly that's because of our turnover in staffing.
We drew 100,000.
If we go down 3 or 4 vacancies, which we typically do routinely every month or so, we still have to cover those shifts, and those shifts then we cover with overtime. Right now, right this minute, our vacancies are actually filled, so we're good with overtime, but that changes monthly as the turnover rate on our staffing is so high.
A lot of overtime, ain't it?
Yep. And then, you know, the other cost is every time we have send an inmate to the hospital or to a doctor. And obviously we don't know when that's going to happen. And we have to cover that with staff. And that's usually around the clock could be for 2 or 3 days.
Thank you.
Yeah, the salaries won't be adjusted until the first reading. The next is the contractual medical services. We kept it the same at $425,000.
We dropped the bill.
Dumpster service stayed the same at $4,500. The contracted inmate housing, we have contracted. We had $500,000 in there. Here we're raising it to $900,000. Some due to the renovations that's going to be going on. We're going to have to move some of them out more. Other is because of the increase in the population is increasing back up. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, all of the courts and law enforcement have basically gone back to normal. Their account's been down for almost a year due to the COVID, but now those counts are going back up, and we're into our energy project where we're trying to keep at least one big cell empty so that we can renovate it, and then we rotate that around the jail. So that's going to go on. We're going to have to keep our account down probably for another 6 or 8 months.
Okay. Custodial supplies, we kept the same at $55,000.
Glenn, I just
Contracted
wanted,
food service.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I wanted to ask Steve a question about the contracted inmate housing. At any given time, how many do you suspect that's in one of those large cells that you're talking about having free for the renovation? How many people are we talking about there?
15 to 20, Tom.
So for the next 6 months or so, we're talking about 20 people extra going to another facility.
Yes, and that's extra because right now we've got almost 90 people out.
Right. So that's another
and,
20.
and we still have about 300 in house.
Right. So the reason I'm asking you that is because she's fixing to get down to it. Is there a direct correlation between contracted food services and the amount of people that'll be in the facility? Less.
A little bit, Tom, but not much. Food service is on a sliding scale, and the higher our number goes, the lower the per meal price is. Right now we're at just over $1.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Contracted food service stays the same at $475,000. Fuel stays the same at $12,000. Vehicle repair stays the same at $15,000. Office supplies went from $1,000 to $4,000. Home incarceration monitors and supplies went from $130,000 to $150,000. And like I said, we also increased the revenues on the other side. Staff uniforms stayed the same at $5,000. Jail insurance claims stayed the same at $100. Routine medical stayed the same at $1,000. Jail association dues stayed the same at $825. Jail staff training stayed the same at $10,000. Telephone stayed the same at $3,200. Staff travel expense stayed the same at $500. Water and sewer, you're going to see in the 2021 line item, it has increased. We did have it at $113,000 this year. We've had some problems with our bill, and we're working on those. So at this time, I've got a question mark beside it. We're going to keep it at $113,000 because we can hopefully work those problems out. We may increase it a little bit, but that'll be on your first reading. We'll adjust that line item.
And also on the water, with our energy project, we expect all of our utilities to go down.
That would be great. Electric, we kept it the same, $80,000. Natural gas, we kept the same at $20,000. IT equipment for the jail, we kept the same at $1,000. The jail COVID supplies and equipment, this is the one that correlates with the grant, and we have it at $25,000. It's a wash. The jail maintenance, repairs, and renovations, like I said, we took that line item out because we're doing the energy project. The jail public bond kept it $1,000. And reserve for transfer, we kept it $20,000. That's what it was last year. transfers. Then we get into the Social Security, retirement, and health, and we haven't calculated any of that. So that'll be on the first reading. Does anybody have any questions about any of the appropriations for the jail?
Do we have any questions?
If not, we'll move into the eligibility fund.
Hey, Glenna, real quick, I do think that, you know, at some point that we as a court have got to start having some discussions about the future of our jail. Because we've been sitting here watching these budgets increase at our jail for, well, we're on our 7th budget, I believe, since we've all been here as a court. And we've got to start having some serious conversations of what we're going to do, because I don't foresee that our numbers, you know, we're not getting smaller. We got lucky with COVID and what that put our community in. That really helped. But as you see, we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel with COVID, and we're already starting to see things somewhat go back to normal. And I mean, at some point, it's just got to become a serious issue.
Judge, I think it's actually more serious than most of us know or understand. Most of the courts, the feedback I'm getting from the judges is, and you saw a piece of it in the paper recently with the grand jury, but the caseloads of the judges are huge, and they will start adjudicating those, which means our count will go up even more.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we've been down the road with this jail. That was one of the first things. I mean, that's one of the things I ran on when I first ran. We tried to garner support. But at some point, it's got to become a serious issue and a concern for everybody. You know, KRS doesn't allow us to just say, okay, we're not going to take care of the jail. I mean, it's a mandated expenditure. You know, at some point, we're going to have to get to a point where we're not buying other things that are positive, because we're going to have to put all our money in the jail. And so I just feel like we got to start stressing this when we're in these conversations, when we're having budget workshops. I feel like we have to start expressing the truth and not being silent and quiet, and to start voicing the facts. And I think the more we start discussing about it and showing the truth and being transparent about it, but I think it has to come from all of us. Because, I mean, we fund a lot of other projects that we're trying to lower our number. I mean, and not to point out the county attorney, but I mean, we've partnered with her on many things that is supposed to be helping. But when all the money dries up, because we can't afford those things, it's going to have to go to the jail. And so then we're not going to be able to support those programs. So it's just a concern of mine. And I can see in, 4 or 5 years that it is a real big issue for this community. And I think we have to start voicing it and discussing it. We're elected by the people. And I think we have to start having those conversations. So, and I'm open for any kind of discussion. I'm open for any kind of ideas. I'm open for more work sessions to discuss. I just think it's a good opportunity. We're right here in the budget. We see these things continue to increase. I think we have to start talking about them. So,
yeah, I agree and welcome it, Judge. And in fact, I would recommend that we have a work session specifically for the jail. And then we put all our cards on the table and discuss the numbers and the projected numbers of what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, to everybody's point there, Judge, we're doing a $4.5 million renovation at the jail that doesn't increase our capacity at all. It just brings us back up to code, basically. And, that's not helping us in what we can put over there.
Doesn't increase the numbers at all, Tom. It simply allows us to keep using the building we have.
Maybe
Because
save,
the mechanical systems in this building were so bad that we were virtually ready to shut down.
may save a little on the utilities, and that's about it.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Glenna. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll move on to 04, I believe, which is the LGA account or fund.
Yes, sir. Yes, the revenues for the LGEA, you'll see co-impact, we've never had co-impact tax. Mineral severance tax, we keep the same at 150,000. Interest, we keep the same at 500. And surplus from prior year went from 650,000 to 525 for a total budget of 675,500. Does anybody have any questions on the revenues? You look over to the appropriations, you'll see road equipment. Last year we had 250,000 budgeted for road equipment. We've spent 68,000. We are going to spend some more this year before the end of the year. In the new year, we've got 100,000 budgeted for road equipment. And can you remind me what that's for?
I believe that might be the bed. Scott might have to, I believe it might be the bed for the service truck. I can't remember though.
Yes, that's what it is, the service.
Yeah.
For the service truck bed. Road materials, last year we had 415,748. We've lowered that down to 181, 152, and that's only because we have now added a line item down. You can see at the bottom, reserve for transfer, that we put 260,000 in. That 260,000 is 2 years worth of bond payment on those trucks, the dump trucks that we bought last year. We feel like we need to keep 2 years kept back at all time in case worst case scenario, just so that we always have that put back. So if you add those two line items together, it's more like what we had last year, but we separated it out, put 260,000 in reserve, which left 181,152 under road materials, which can be used for extra asphalt, whatever we need, emergency funding, anything that has to do with the roads. The next line item down from road materials is road equipment bond principal. Went from 109,000 to 111,000. That comes straight off the loan schedule. Road equipment bond interest went from 25,752 to 23,348. Does anybody have any questions about the LGEA fund? If not, we'll move into the federal grants fund. We normally call it the CDBG because that's normally all we put in there, but this past year we actually had to put CARES money in there. Now, we will not have any CARES money coming through this fund anymore. We do have another budget amendment for $1 million of that second phase funding that has not gone in yet. But in the 21-22 year, we will not have a line item for CARES funding. CARES funding is going to go into a different fund. Well, it's not going to be called CARES funding, but it's the new ARPA. Under federal grants, we did have 721,475. Next year, we should have a balance of 259,000 on the two projects that we're doing, the Kit Carson project and the God's Outreach. Those being 54,000 of it is the God's Outreach Food Bank project, and 205,000 is the Kit Carson Workforce project. When those two are done, we don't have any more CDBG projects at this time. So the CDBG fund is basically a wash account that we put federal funds into and spend it out. Does anybody have any questions about the CDBG fund or the federal grants fund? Okay, if not, we'll be moving into the CSEP fund. The revenues for the CSEP.
Hey, Glenna, before we start here, does anybody need a recess? Everybody good? Keep going, pushing through?
Okay.
All right, keep going, Glenna, thanks.
All right. The CSEP fund, this is handed to me from Jennifer and Dustin, and it combines every year that they have open money on. So the CSEP budgets that they have with the state is different than our budgets. And they may have funding that's still left over in the 17 or 18 or 19 year. And we have to combine all those years. So when we put in this amount of money, it's all their year's money combined for that one line item. So that if they finish that project or whatever it is and spend all that money out, we have to have that max amount into our budget. In the revenues, all the reimbursements that come in from the state go under that first line item, which is called Homeland Security Grants. It was $41,417,811 last year. It's $41,126,807 this year. The next line item down is reimbursements, stayed the same at $500. Cell tower rent went from $17,000 to $17,775. And surplus from our prior year went from $375 to $875. And that is just to account for the monies that's sitting in there that is actually what we float on. $500,000 of that money was given by the general fund to float the CSEP fund on. That comes to a total of $42,020,082 for next year. Does anybody have any questions about how the revenues work for the CSEP fund? If not, we'll move into the appropriations.
Glenn, I think Tom has something. Tom?
Did you say in the surplus fund that there was 500,000 in there from the general fund?
Yes, like 2 years ago, we put in 500,000. We used to, if you remember, we used to run the CSEP monies through the general fund. And it was very confusing for auditors, everything. So we moved it back to the CSEP fund because we had to continually reimburse. The money would come in, we'd have to reimburse the general fund for it. So we moved it over and just moved a set amount of money over to the CSEP fund to float, because CSEP is all reimbursement. You have to spend it and then get reimbursed for the money. So we had to have some to float on.
So Glenna, you weren't getting the funds from the CSEP quick enough, and it was deplenishing your budget, so we had to have something to balance it out in there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Now, on anything about 25 to 30,000 and above, we try to send in what we call an advance payment. We send it, and that's what you see on your claims list all the time in the fiscal court meetings. It says advance payment for CSEP. We go ahead and send it to them and tell them what we're wanting to purchase or pay for. They go ahead and approve it and send us the money in advance, and then we pay the bill. On any kind of large, really large items, we have to do that because there's no way we could fund it. But for payroll and your small items, anything 25,000 under, we fund those, and then we have to get reimbursed for it.
Okay.
Any other questions on the CSEP revenues? If not, we'll move on to the CSEP appropriations. The salaries are set in this one because it's a lump sum from all the years of their salaries. It went from $1,729,469 to $2,278,730. That comes straight out of the CSEP budget. Doesn't mean that we're going to use all that. If you'll notice my last report at the fiscal court meeting, we've only spent 9% of the CSEP budget. You know, we have to budget as if they spent every dime that they could out of every year that they're funded, but we don't spend near that by the end of the year. Normally, it would be we would spend maybe 15% of the CSEP budget by the end of the year.
But their CSEP staff salaries is also now they're running 3 shifts, right?
Yeah. Yes, they're running more people than they ever have, and probably still. I'm not sure how many more positions they have or that's been approved. They could fill if they need it. They only fill them if they need them. But this comes straight off of their CSEP budget. And the fringe benefits, the next line item down went from 511, 277 to 604, 946. CSEP program support, 343, 804 to 375. The AAR siren maintenance project went from $85,280 to $128,833. The CSEP calendar went from $138,367 to $151,169. The 800 megahertz service contract went from $648,000 to $733,475. Radio tower maintenance is from $209,630 to $410,731. Hardware and software maintenance went from $401,959 down to $355,194. Public affairs initiatives went from $244,786 to $280,049. Siren system batteries went from $75,000 to $155,000. The AAR system replacement went from $3,871,875 to $1,397,500. The siren expansion replacement stays the same at $2,958,000. The 800 megahertz replacement goes from $11,898,741 to $11,800,013. Generator replacement stays the same at $250,000. Antidote stockpile went from $313,660 to $502,666. Radio tower replacement no longer went to zero. State CSEP contracted services, this is a pass-through expenses, stays at $25,000. Office supplies and miscellaneous office services went from $63,323 to $95,372. Fuel for generators went from $12,682 to $20,944.
Glenna?
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment on the antidote. I talked to Dustin about this earlier today. There was a $200,000 increase on antidotes for that, and a lot of that is simply because some of that stuff's got a shelf life on it. So what we've got in the past is running out. Plus, we're in the as he described it earlier to me, they were initially talking about doing the GB gas first. So, that stuff was stockpiled first for antidotes, but we ended up starting with the mustard first. So we were in kind of a flip-flop on that. So we still have to have the current, with current good shelf life out there for that, should it be ever needed.
Yes. Exercise supplies and printing costs, $14,650 to $14,800. Community protective action, $1,301,930 to $1,356,746. CSEP training went from $106,765 to $168,030. ELC costs from $534,894 to $752,782. JIC operating expense and maintenance from $215,136 to $210,347. ELC roof, walls, and maintenance stays at $75,000. Medical requests went from $948,686 to $851,400. First responder training cost offset went from $20,000 to $27,000. Emergency response accountability system stayed at $80,000. EOC repairs went from $2,200,000 to $2,188,100. CSEP travel went from $106,811 to $200,843. ELC utility costs $287,563 to $278,292. The Zumo trailer maintenance went to $5,000. Computer servers went from $26,183 to $400,000. Additional handheld radios and supplies went from $140,000 to $250,655. The JIC response info systems went from $50,000 to $47,587. The auto call down reverse 911 support, $69,500 down to $30,000. The monitoring equipment for off post, $137,000 down to $62,579. PC and related equipment was put in at $130,000. Protective action equipment was taken out. Equipment for community preparedness went from $150,000 down to $144,862. Phase 2 of the 800 megahertz replacement stayed the same at $5,787,449. Phase 3 of the 800 megahertz replacement stayed the same at $4,987,449. Reserve for transfer is put in at $500,000 to account for the general fund money that's set in there. Then you have the Social Security, the retirement, health, Medicare. Those all have not been calculated.
Yeah, Glenna, is Dustin still on?
Yes, sir.
Would you just quickly address where we're at on the 800 megahertz replacement, just so everybody knows?
Yeah, so we are in, we've completed phase 1, which was generators, air conditioning units, things of that nature. We've completed that. Phase 2 and 3, and then part of why you see this all broken up is the way FEMA and the Army have to spread the funding over years. And as Glenna correctly said, our budget is very complicated. You see, we have multiple years that we can have funding in based on projects. Currently, we are in quarter number 3 of the 2021 fiscal year for the federal government. And that's how this budget operates off the federal government quarters. But we have yet to receive $1 of the 2021 fiscal year budget because it runs so far behind. So that's why you see these numbers really are almost like 2 budgets combined from our side. But to answer your question about the radio system, we are in communication with the vendor. We've done some finalization of the design and how this system is going to operate, and then we are working towards the build out from there.
Good, thank you.
Dustin, on the computer servers went from 26,000 to 400,000. Is that because you got 24/7 shift out there now?
Well, it is, and Magistrate Tutor, it's again another complicated piece there. So we actually talked about this budget with FEMA last July, and we put extra money in this line because working with Chris and folks, we knew we were due for a replacement of servers. Those servers actually failed, or were about to fail, right between the time we had budget discussions with FEMA and what we have is a final time to produce any projects. So we went ahead and produced a project with our prior year's funding, built a project, worked with Chris. Those servers are already actually in now. And because we haven't had our final, because the budget actually isn't even finalized to FEMA yet, we've actually reduced that 400,000 number. We just talked about it last week. We've reduced that 400,000 number. So that number will be coming down because we were able to complete the project with prior year project money and not needed in the budget money. So again, as complicated as it can get, I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Dustin.
You bet.
Anybody have any other questions about the CSEP budget?
The only thing I'll say here is just a comment, is we're talking about CSEP budget. We're getting closer to the end of CSEP program, and it's going to have a humongous financial impact once this funding has gone away to this community. We have been very fortunate over the past, I'm going to say 30 plus years, Dustin. I'd say that's fairly accurate. 30 plus years to be able to have this type of funding that has helped our fire departments, our road departments, our law enforcement, has helped our cities, Brea and Richmond, our ambulance services, our coroner. I mean, it has helped this community tremendously that our local tax dollars has not had to go towards any expenditures. And I think, again, this is a discussion that we all have to start talking about. How are we going to pay for all these wonderful services that this program has provided to the citizens of Madison County. And so this is a part of a discussion. I would hate to see that we do not have these discussions and we do not put a plan together as an elected body, and we have something like the jail and post CSEP hit us at the same time. That'd be very devastating. So I just want to make that comment.
Well, also including with just what you just said, Judge, that also includes that we're giving 1 million plus to the sheriff's department. So same thing. I mean, all that's got to come to a point in the head somewhere along the line.
Yep. Yep. Thanks for listening. I think we're going to, did you say 911 fund, correct, Glenna?
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to the 911 revenue. There's one page of it. We start out with the telephone tax. This is a $3.50 charge that you get on the bill, your telephone bill, and we kept it at $600,000. The cell phone receipts actually went up from $350,000 to $380,000. And your fiscal court operational support dropped from $184,308 to $166,161. And that is the same for the two other entities, Richmond and Berea. EMS operational support stayed the same. And the project support for each entity also stayed the same at $11,000 each for Berea, fiscal court, and Richmond. The 911 interest is at $200. It was at $248. And surplus from prior year, we raised from $400,000 to $500,000. As you'll see, last year we come in at $495,064. So a total fund budget of $2,051,683. Does anybody have any questions? Now this budget has already been through the 911 board. They have already voted on it. So this is just putting it into our budget. Is there any questions about the 911 revenues? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the 911 appropriations. Now, their salaries are actually figured in because they have already voted on their salary changes. They did some reclassifications. Their starting pay for dispatchers is going from $14.38 to $15.58. And after that person has completed probation and been certified, they will be at $16.84. So all the changes for salaries have been done on the 911. So their salaries are going from $954,715 to $975,510. Their overtime is staying the same at $75,000. The accounting 1% administration fee is staying the same at $25,000. The IT support is going up from $30,000 to $37,185. The GIS support is at $5,000. The computer software maintenance is actually going down from $160,652 down to $155,000. They did add in a new line item called legal fees for $30,000, and they did that just to prepare. I think it was they were informed that if they had needed legal service for the board, they would need to get their own legal service. So they put in this this line item for $30,000. Building maintenance and repairs stayed the same at $1,000. New hire and medical testing stayed the same at $3,000. Custodial supplies went down from $1,800 to $800. Office supplies stayed the same at $4,500, and uniforms stayed the same at $5,000. Educational supplies stayed the same at $600. Their portion of property liability insurance stayed the same at $9,312. Their accreditation fees stayed the same at $2,000. Reimbursement stayed the same at $500. Cell phones stayed the same at $360. Telenetworking database costs stayed the same at $89,000. Training and travel went down from $15,000 to $10,000. The internet stayed the same at $6,400. Water and sewer stayed the same at $500. Electric stayed the same at $5,500. Natural gas stayed the same at $700. Copier maintenance stayed the same at 3,000. Miscellaneous stayed the same at 500. Equipment went from 20,000 down to 12,000. Capital projects, and that was the capital project line item, support from all three entities stayed at 33,000. Reserve for transfer went from 20,000 to $20,001. Social Security went from 63,843 to 65,132. Retirement went from 247,750 to 283,113. Life insurance stayed the same at 1,575. Health insurance for now stayed the same at 165. Unemployment insurance at 4,340 stayed the same. Workers' comp and insurance went from 6,694 to 6,922. And the Medicare match went from 14,931 to 15,233. Does anybody have any questions about the appropriations for the 911 fund?
All right, any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move into our new fund.
We created a brand new fund, and these account numbers were given to us by Department for Local Government. This is the new American Rescue Plan Act fund. And I know, as you're aware, that we should have money wired in sometime in May to us for $9,017,128. And then we should also, a year from then, have another $9,017,128. So you can see on the revenues, I have in the new budget a income line item called the American Rescue Plan Act grant. And then I also have surplus from prior year at $9,017,017 for a total of $18,034,256. And then on the appropriation side, we've got the entire $18,034,256 in under reserve for transfer that we can transfer to any line item that we create later on when we decide what we were going to spend this money on. Does anybody have any questions about it?
We don't have instructions on any of that yet, do we, Judge?
No, sir. No, they're starting to come out with a few little things, but nothing that's set in stone yet. We do have everything set up with our DUNS number, our SAM's number, count number, and all that, so that the money can be transferred into us. And then just for the court's awareness, I'm putting together just a little, I'm calling it an ARPA committee internally for us to start having some discussions of what we can't do, maybe good ideas that we feel like that would be good for our community to use this funding for. And then we would present something to the court at that time once we know those things. So we felt like it was best to have this in its own fund. That way it's not mixing with general fund monies in any way. It's a lot easier to keep it straight. And that's the guidance that we got from CAECO as well. You know, we've had some meetings statewide, having some discussions about what we can and can't do. We've sent in a lot of questions to NACO, or National Association, that is working hand in hand with the Treasury to get those answered. So, and I think we do have a meeting coming up Friday. John, sorry.
Do you know if any of that fund can be used toward the jail support, or?
At this time, I'm not answering any questions about what because I don't want to misspeak, you know, and until I know for sure. Some of those questions have been sent, and we do not have those answers back. So we all know that would be great if we could, but as of right now, I can't answer yes or no.
Thank you.
And even things I might know about right now that you can, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm not going to answer yes or no. So I'd rather us have our game plan put together, and we're going to work internally with several of our department heads to really sort of come up with and present it to the court. I feel like that's the best way to move to next steps, I guess. So Any other questions about our American Relief Plant Act Fund? All right, any questions about any of the other funds or just the budget in general?
It's been good.
Yeah, I'll just say, I want to thank all of our department heads. I want to thank Glenna. We and magistrates that been here with me the whole time. You know how far we've come in a budget of being very efficient, being transparent. And I'm just very proud of our department heads and everybody that's bought in to not wasting and cutting budgets. And it's just been great. It's really refreshing. And I hope that you all see this when you see the last several years trends of how far we've come down, and now it's just sort of leveling off. So I hope you all are proud as well of our department heads and Glenna for what everybody does and how they represent us with taxpayer dollars. So it's pretty awesome. If there's no other comments, our next meeting will be next Tuesday. Remember, this was just a work session that we do every year. Our next regular scheduled fiscal court meeting will be next Tuesday on May the 11th, 2021 at 9:30 right back here on Zoom. Again, that's May the 11th, 2021 right back here on Zoom at 9:30. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. Roger.
So moved.
Paul Reynolds. Have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Master Reynolds,
Yes.
Master Berger,
Yes.
Master Tudor,
Yes.
Master Buchan,
Yes.
Judge Taylor.
Yes. Appreciate everybody a lot.